On April 9th, 1993, Robert Spangler and his wife, Donna, set out on the Page Spring Trail for a backcountry trip. 2 days later, Mr. Spangler hikes out alone. He makes his way to the park's backcountry office and tells National Park rangers of a tragedy on the trail.
As they were hiking out of the canyon up toward Horseshoe Mesa, they had stopped so that Bob could set up a camera and take a picture.
And while he was making some adjustment with the camera and was not looking at her, that he heard a slight noise and turned around and she was no longer there.
According to Spangler, he peered over the red wall cliffs and saw his wife's body 140 feet below. Park rangers are dispatched to the scene and retrieve Donna Spangler's body. The investigation is then turned over to the Coconino County Sheriff's Office. Deputy Brett Rye meets with the victim's husband.
He was very upset. I mean, he would break down crying. Then he would talk a little bit, and he would break down crying some more.
Rye finds no evidence to suggest foul play, and no reason to believe that Donna's fall was anything but an accident.
She could have slipped. She could have been dizzy. He stated she'd been complaining of dizziness. So there's a lot of things that happen. People fall in the canyon all the time. Some are injured, some are fatal.
Some are injured, some are fatal. Sometimes people fall, and sometimes they are pushed. In the case of Donna Spangler, the canyon cliffs offer no clues as to where the truth might lie. Coconino County rules Spangler's death accidental, and within a week, the case is closed. Bruce Cornish is a detective with the Coconino County Sheriff's Office. A year after Donna Spangler's death, he learns of a suspicious coincidence in Robert Spangler's past.
A friend of Donna's family called our agency and was suspicious of the death, and he had told us that there had been a previous wife that had died under suspicious circumstances.
Cornish begins a new investigation, one that will shed light on another dark day in the life of Robert Spangler, a day that still lingers in the memory of a small Colorado town. "7614 Franklin Way. In 1978, it is the home of Bob and Nancy Spangler and their 2 teenage children. At 11:30 a.m. on December 30th, the house becomes a crime scene.
In one bedroom was the young teenage female. She was lying face up with a gunshot wound.
15-year-old Susan Spangler is dead. Across the hall, detectives find her brother, 17-year-old David. Detective Tucker begins to search the rest of the house. In the basement, he finds the body of Nancy Spangler, slumped in a chair.
She had a gunshot wound to the forehead, and she was sitting in the basement area in front of a typewriter, and there was a note on the typewriter, a suicide note.
A suicide note, signed with the single letter N, apparently typed by a mother who has also killed her 2 children as they lay sleeping. 5 hours later, Bob Spangler arrives home. He tells police that he and Nancy were having marital problems, and that very morning, he told her he was moving out. The Arapahoe County coroner confirms that theory, finding that Nancy Spangler died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound after fatally shooting both of her children. 16 years later, that finding does not sit well with the man investigating the death of Donna Spangler.
Upon reading that report, I became highly suspicious that Bob may have had a role in Donna's death.
Cornish shares his concerns with Arapahoe County investigator Paul Goodman, who decides to take a fresh look at the old file.
The original conclusion was that it was a double murder-suicide with Nancy Spangler, the mother, having killed her 2 children. Gunshot residue tests were done on Nancy Spangler and on Bob Spangler. And Nancy Spangler's test showed negative. However, tests on one of Bob's hands did reveal the presence of gunshot residue.
Although not conclusive, the results of the gunshot residue tests beg the question, did someone else fire the gun that killed Nancy Spangler? In 1978, that possibility was ruled out. Now, 16 years later, Goodman believes the coroner's finding might have missed the mark. Goodman asks current Arapahoe County coroner Dr. Mike Doberson to take a new look at Nancy Spangler's autopsy photos.
You see on the forehead in this particular case was an entrance wound, the entrance defect, and it was surrounded by the stippling, or little dot-like scratches.
An intermediate range wound means that the gun that killed Nancy Spangler was held at a distance of 3 to 10 inches from her head, a finding that is highly inconsistent with suicide. Dr. Doberson's conclusion, Nancy Spangler was murdered. He changes her cause of death from suicide to homicide. He places a call to Arizona, hoping that Donna Spangler's suspicious fall in the Grand Canyon might provide an opportunity to charge her husband with murder. Former park ranger and now special agent Bev Perry takes the call.
Upon hearing about that case and reading the material that they had, at that moment in time, I no longer had any doubts about Bob Spangler, that I felt certain that he had murdered his first family, and he had most likely murdered Donna as well.
Perry and Goodman agree they are looking at 4 possible homicides, with Bob Spangler the prime suspect in them all. Because the Grand Canyon is federal property, cold case detectives can utilize one more resource in tracking Bob Spangler, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. The FBI brings a new focus to the investigation, reaching out to Spangler's family and friends, searching for an angle to use against their suspect. In August of 2000, they get it. A family friend tells cold case detectives that Bob Spangler is dying.
Bob had sent her a letter and that he indicated he was dying of cancer. That kind of changed things for us.
And long story short is we make a decision that this might be the best time to approach him when he's still reeling a little bit from this diagnosis.
And that's where we kind of decided that we just needed to pack up our case and go to Colorado and do the best we could at obtaining a confession.
For nearly 3 hours, Robert Spangler sits and listens, soaking up the interest but revealing very little.
He kept telling us he had nothing he could tell us about. And then we reached kind of an impasse. You know, we left it with telling him we really wanted to talk to him the next day.
At 9 a.m. the next morning, FBI agent Lenny Johns gets a call. It's Bob Spangler, and he wants to make a deal.
When he comes in the second day, he's interested in like a barter situation.
He said that he could see that we didn't have enough to arrest him yet, or he wouldn't have walked out of there the night before.
Investigators agree to Spangler's requests for time to see his friends and to visit the Grand Canyon one last time. In exchange, Robert Spangler takes detectives back to 1978, revealing for the first time the details of how he murdered his family.
This was premeditated, first of all, so there isn't that.
How did you talk Nancy into coming downstairs while you were in the basement?
Surprise, it's almost Christmas. Come here, sit quietly. Close your eyes.
What were your next actions?
To get the gun from wherever it was and put it to her head and shot her.
According to Spangler, he then walked upstairs to his daughter's bedroom. She was asleep in bed.
Shot her in the heart, I believe. The coroner's report was no doubt accurate.
Spangler then walked across the hall to his son David's room. The 17-year-old, however, was not asleep. Spangler fired at his son from the bedroom doorway.
And then he does some more talking and ends up telling us, proceed, meaning proceed with your line of questioning, and I'm going to tell you about that other one.
Bob Spangler takes detectives back down the trails of the Grand Canyon and the last hike Donna Spangler would ever take.
He just simply, without saying anything to her, and he demonstrates that he takes with her, and I just pushed her.
3 weeks after giving his confession, Spangler is taken into custody. He pleads guilty to 4 counts of first-degree murder and is sentenced to life in a federal prison. On August 5th, 2001, the sun stretches out over the Grand Canyon. The Colorado River follows its daily course, and Robert Spangler, the man who brought murder to the canyon, dies in prison at the age of 68.